Losing My Religion with Dan, Jackie, and Sunjata.
Welcome. This is Losing My Religion. My name is Scott Sunjata Keita. Note to upgrade the video. We have Jackie Wanjohi and Dan Rugunya. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
I'm feeling ni kama the only host na kumbe. It's like I'm the we are all hosts. We're actually all hosts ni vile
moderate. Yeah.
I'm a good moderator. Anyway, guys, welcome to the show. It's exciting today. We are doing video. I hope this time it will work. Because last time tulijaribu. Technical difficulties. The sound mazee ilikuwa so messed up because we were recording different sounds.
Yeah.
So echo yake na peak so alafu tulikuwa in close proximity.
Yes.
Ilikuwa very echoey.
But I tried video broke.
Is that what like echoey?
Yeah, you make language is what you understand. It's what you understand. Echoey.
Thank you for that.
That's quite echoey.
Takuni crucify hapa.
Hata tujaanza discussion.
So guys, today tulisema tunaongelea God and morals. Faith and morals. Like what do they exist together? Can they be separated? Can someone have morals without having faith? That's basically what we're going to talk about. And first of all, I want Dan Kwanza to unpack that, because I'm sure when will
come
up with the topic. Unpack it for us and try and show us how you came about the topic, how you want us to go about it.
Yeah, I think it's just a question that exists in the life of everyone, because every human being who is born, except maybe people who are born, is it sociopaths or sociopaths? They're the ones who have no ability to like feel, to like have human emotions. But even them, I think you are born with this like innate knowledge of right and wrong.
Sure.
So even a small baby, there are things they will do, and they will make a face. They'll be like,
guilty.
Kuna kitu nimefanya yenye kufanya. So there is that means that inherently for every human being, we know that there is good and there is evil.
Yeah.
But we also have a lot of human beings. Okay, we have human beings who practice all kinds of different faiths, but then we also have a lot of people who practice no faith at all.
Yeah.
So the question is, is there ever a connection between faith, that belief in something that is higher, someone who is higher, a higher power, and good and evil? Can you have good and evil if you take God out of the picture? So that's generally the discussion we're having. You had a definition for morals.
Yes, I wanted us to start with a definition for what moral is, morality. Yeah. Basically, standard definition. These are principles of right and wrong. Like morals, once you're born, like it's somehow like you have a default program that says this is wrong, this is right. Even a baby can understand that. You know? They might not understand other things, but at the core of their personality, they know what's right and what's wrong. So that's what morality is according to the modern definition. Jackie, what's your take? What do you think?
I think the bigger question for me here is, does religion determine morality?
Does religion determine morality?
Yeah.
So are you asking us? Or
yeah, I'm asking.
You're going to ask and answer.
No. I'm actually asking. I'm asking you. I'm asking probably the person who's listening. Yeah. I think to some extent you can be morally upright and not be very religious. Yeah. But you can only go so far in terms of your morals, because there are things a Christian will perceive as to be immorally upright. Is that what immorally
upright.
Wow.
Not upright.
Really mouthful.
There's a word like that
There's
though.
Immorally
upright.
Immorally, no.
There's an
Morally
English.
upright.
Yeah, morally upright. There's
Okay,
a-
not just you're not upright in terms of your
Like you're immoral.
Yes, you're immoral. Wow. I just
Oh, so you're immoral.
Immoral,
so you're
yes.
immorally upright.
Really,
so you're immoral. So
Okay.
yeah, so there are things as a Christian, I'd see someone who probably is not faith-based, yeah? And I'd think, apana, mimi kama iyo apana sitiki. But for someone else who's probably not religious, or they wouldn't perceive that to be something very big. So I feel like
don't see it as a big deal.
yeah, it's not a big deal. So I feel yes, you can live a good life, or rather do things that
A morally upright life.
be a morally
without
upright,
necessarily being
religious, but you can not everything. Like there are things that will be limiting for you, or you'll be limited because you know how let's see. I'm trying to find. I'm just going to go to basics as 10 Commandments. Yeah, because I think Christianity and everything that revolves around salvation is based on the 10 Commandments.
Islam, I think as well. Okay, I'm not sure.
Yeah, everything.
I think Islam as well. I think they're not very far. Because the Old Testament, I think so.
I think Islam
Judaism.
in a borrow a lot from especially the books, the Torah books.
The Torah books. Yeah, I think kuna parallels hapo na Judaism pia. Anyway.
But we
so-
agree foundation ni 10 Commandments.
Yeah.
Sindio? So let's take for example, don't lie. Yeah? So for someone who's a staunch Christian, even the simple lies
Even a white lie to a kid is.
ile yenye
You're going to die.
you know how I won't lie. The number of times I have lied about being in a
Where
place that
you
I've yes. Kwanza kwa matatu.
Those small white lies.
You lie
Yes.
in a matatu. I
Yes.
cannot be able to lie in a matatu because everybody's gonna look at me.
That's why you lower your voice. That's why you lower your
don't
voice.
know you.
You won't say.
People will- but yes.
But you see, so and I wouldn't feel bad. Okay, that's scary, but it won't make me feel like
Actually, there are some lies that utatell after you never know you told a lie.
they won't like make you feel I'm a bad person.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's someone who might perceive that to be very,
Very
very
evil. I don't
moral,
think,
yeah?
Okay, me, I think this is it. There is morality based on humanity, or like human beings, how we define morality, and then there's morality based on God, if you believe in a God.
yes.
So there are those people who subscribe to morality based on human standards, and they feel like, okay, I don't have to put God's morality again on top of human morality because that's just too much for me to bear. So I'll stick to human level standards of morality. So if it's okay for human beings not to kill, I'll stick to that. But if it's okay for human beings to kill, if someone has killed someone you're related to, like if it's revenge or self-defense, then I think I like that.
Because there's a story, I'm just remembering a story I saw on I don't know whether it was on YouTube, of someone who murdered a small girl and then the father went and killed
the guy.
guy.
Yeah, you see, for some people that would be
That's
morality.
okay.
That's okay
For
because
some people, that's okay.
it's revenge. But you see, if you look at God's standards, He'll tell you, I am. Revenge is
Vengeance is the Lord's.
vengeance is the Lord. So you have to let it go. Like that's so hard to do. But according to God, that's now morality. He wants you to go a stretch further. So for some people, I believe, it's okay to. I'm not saying it's okay. Yes, these people exist. People who have morality based on human standards, but they necessarily don't have morality based on God's standard, which is religion, I guess.
So would it be right to say then that religion does not determine morality? Right?
Yes, I don't think
Because you said that there are morals that umefikiria sana.
My head is about to explode.
It's fun. I think one of that's one of the reasons why it's really good to have these conversations, because when you see it over there, faith and morality, can you have one without the other? It sounds like a very easy, simple. But when you start to have those conversations, you
Realize
start to see the layers inside it. But one question that I would probably put across, or maybe not, let me not put it as a question, let me just give my opinion. I think, at least in the context of this conversation, one of the things that we probably need to separate also is faith and religion. It's interesting because this podcast is called Losing My Religion.
Yeah.
It's a faith-based podcast. Yeah, but it's called Losing My Religion. So I think there's that difference, and I think we spoke about it in the very first episode, where we say religion is more about the rituals, and the things. Faith is more personal. It's more about a belief, a deep-rooted belief, a conviction. So I think the thing with religion is religion and morality, I think, totally just don't. You cannot hinge one on the other.
Yes.
Because when it comes to religion, there are so many religious people. In fact, some of the most morally corrupt human beings on this earth
are
the most religious people. Yeah. So just because you practice a certain set of rituals, you go to church or you go to the mosque or whatever it is that you do, just because even at your own personal level, just because you say wake up and read the Bible doesn't necessarily mean you're morally upright. Yeah. I think the deeper question, which I don't have like a definitive answer myself, is faith and morals, because I think the moment you have that deep-seated conviction that there is a power that is higher than you, that automatically rules out specific things, like there is things you just can't do.
And it's not up for debate.
Yeah, and actually if I was now to talk about it specifically from a Christian perspective, you have instances in the Bible where, like Joseph with the situation with Potiphar's wife, and he says, I cannot do this and sin against my God.
Yeah.
And what essentially that means is he's not doing that because it's not necessarily about him, it's like about that higher power. And I think that's the connection I am making. But to answer the question in the most simplest way I can, the simplest way that I can think about it, I just think so based on what I've just said, I don't think you can separate. Well, so that means if you have faith, you have morals. The question is, if you have morals, does that also mean that you have some level of faith? I don't know the answer to that. But I think the center of everything, in my opinion, is God. I think God is everywhere and in everyone. And that means that anybody who has any kind of morality, that is a divine expression in them. So the only question is, do you acknowledge it or not? So there's someone who will say, I cannot kill, but I don't believe in God. So they don't acknowledge that it is a godly thing. But my belief is, whether you acknowledge it or not, it is the stuff that we are made of. So I don't think we can. Yeah, I don't think you can divorce faith yourself from it. God and morals, I don't think you can divorce those two. Faith and morals, I'm not so sure, because I think there are people who are morally upright but probably don't subscribe to any belief. So any belief in God or higher power. So they'll be like, I don't kill, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I have a way I live my life. But if you ask me, do I believe in God, then they're probably gonna say no. So I'm not really sure whether you can say that you cannot separate those two.
Because you think you can.
What about you, Jackie? What do you believe?
I think you can. I think being morally upright is faith-based. Yeah, that's in my opinion. Yeah? Because if you look at it like this, so just as Dan said, yes, you'll say you will not kill, you will not lie. Why? You just can't do things because you don't want to do them. You might not acknowledge that you're refusing to kill because God says don't kill, and if you do, this is what awaits you. Yeah, but I also feel you can't separate them for sure.
God and
yes, you can't.
morality.
If you're morally upright, for sure you're morally upright. Not okay. Of course, you can't be 100%. I don't know who's 100% unless God comes and says, just as you said, have you seen? I think like Job. I think you know how Job, but I'm sure even Job had his own shortcomings. Yeah.
Also the Bible says all have sinned, so it means everyone.
So yes, you can, but I feel the point of being able to tell the difference between what's right and what's wrong is governed by your belief system. Yeah. Because yes, by your belief system. Because what, as I said from the beginning, what I might consider wrong might be something very okay with someone else. Yeah, like let me just be as basic as alcohol drinking. Yeah, so there are churches that
allow it.
Yes. Do you say drinking is an immoral act, or is it moral? How do you perceive it?
A little while.
Are you
good
asking?
for the stop.
Yeah, I'm asking.
Oh, I think it's up. I don't think it's immoral.
You don't think?
I don't think drinking is immoral.
So for me, I think
Getting drunk is
yes, of course.
for me.
And whoever drinks,
Okay.
Yes.
Drinking is
because
not
that's what
immoral.
the Bible says.
Don't get drunk. Okay, it doesn't mean that.
I would have. I would have
It
raised
doesn't
that.
mean raise your tolerance levels.
As
So
long
that
as it
even
doesn't
if
make
you
you do
drink a
things.
whole jug, I'm not drunk.
I'm not drunk.
Look at me. I'm not.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you'd say then, if I drink and I'm not doing things of my alcohol is
I'm
not
not
taking,
losing my
yes, I'm not losing
faculties,
myself, then it's okay for me to drink, right? But if you look at, let's take for example someone who's very deep in let's take a pastor who's probably leading a congregation and all that, do you think he'd preach, this is now Catholic aside, but do you think he'd preach you can go drink, and as long as you drink and you don't do this, it's okay? He wouldn't, because I think according to them, or for his belief system, it's not right to engage in drinking. Yeah. So I think for me, being morally upright and not living a moral upright life is based, like God is one who, like God divides this. This is wrong. If God says this is wrong, it's wrong.
So it's
Let's
for
not-
you believe it's based on God, it's not
Yes.
on human beings.
No, I think even on the human beings, like we are erred. We are erred because, as I said, I'm just taking a basic example of drinking. Yeah, as Dan said, Dan does not think drinking is bad. It's okay. I think drinking is.
I don't drink those. But it's not. It's not immoral.
So
Yeah, not maybe immoral per se, but you say, what did you
So
start
is
by
it
the
sin?
description?
Let's use
It's
the
not
question.
sin.
Is it sin?
I don't think it's sin per se, but
you see, this is the problem of
it's a very slippery thing.
This is the problem of having human beings define morals. That's why God has to define morals. Because
Yeah.
as human beings, the goal is always shifting. The goal is always
Exactly.
shifting. Oh, today we're saying drinking is wrong. Oh, but what if I drink? What if I? What if? But that's why morality, for me, this is my opinion and what I believe. I believe morality cannot be separated from God.
Yeah.
You can claim to say that you can have your own definition of morality, but it will always be flawed.
Yeah.
It will always be flawed. It will never be as straight as morality should be. Society can define and say, yeah, this is how we want morality to be. But even society will always be wrong. There'll always be flaws, because that's why human laws always have to be amended. Every time for years, because they can never be upright. But you see, God's laws, like they can never be.
They don't change.
They never change from the time zile zenye watu wako wanasema ati they were beating sijui wakipata mtu umekuwa adulterous, they stone you to death. To now, those laws by the way, they have not changed.
I have a question. Sorry.
Yeah, it's good.
my question is, I do agree, culture also defines a lot, because you find here, like in African churches, people don't drink generally. In the West, it's a different story. My question is, so when you talk about God's laws, are you talking about how it's written in the Bible? And when you talk about how it's written in the Bible, is it also literally
how we are supposed to
literally translate? Like you read what the Bible says, do not do this, then you're like, okay, that's God's law. So if you say it's not based on human law, it's based on God's law, what is God's law?
Morality is God's law. What I mean by that is God is the standard of morality. He is the author of morality. It cannot exist without him.
But how do you know what, like, so I'm living my,
the Bible says, the Bible says, Bible nasema,
that's what I'm,
Yes.
He has written his law in our hearts. That's how, as a child, you're born and you know this is wrong. Unajua ukiiba sukari na mzazi wako alikwambia, even before you learn how to speak as a kid, you already know I am supposed to obey my parents. Like that's already a law in God's word. But Bible nasema he has already written his laws in our hearts. From the time you're born, it's like you have a default program. You're not. That's why there's a video. It was showing. There was a video in. You know that these guys on YouTube who like bring people from different ideological backgrounds, and then they kind of try and compare and contrast which ideas stands. So they brought this woman who believed in say having multiple boyfriends or something. Then this guy who believes in having just one partner. And they are telling this guy, go and discuss with a kid, try to convince that child that your idea is the best idea. Oh, these are kids who are like, to assume they have a blank slate in terms of their experiences and stuff. But all the kids, they sided with this guy who was saying it's good to have one partner. At the end, even them are gonna be, there's a small girl. I'm gonna be, you don't want to have many boyfriends. They'll bring you more chocolates. I said, it's too much for my stomach.
We should look for the link and put it below our link when we post.
So, like, as a kid, maybe they're not raised in a religious background, they know that I think this is too much for me. Like, there's that morality already in operates behind the scenes. That just makes them know this is right, this is not right. This is right, this is wrong, this is right, this is wrong. Like they can tell even without ever interacting with the Bible, without ever interacting with any religious organization, they already know. Because with the Bible, the laws of God are already written in our hearts. That's why when you do something wrong, it hurts. Inakusumbua sana. Your conscience never remains in peace until you kind of reconcile. So I agree with that. That makes sense in terms of like what is embedded in every individual. So, but then does that mean that the people who are moral without religion, are they confused or are they what are they? That's another question actually I wanted to pose.
No, I just think it goes back. Sorry, Jackie. I think it goes back to what I was saying. Is in every one of us, and I'm sure there's probably going to be a lot of people who disagree with this, but I think in every one of us, whether you acknowledge it or not, there is God. So I think the source of that thing telling you, or the source of whatever it is that tells you this that believes you, that tells you can do this, you cannot do this. And I honestly believe that is going to be the basis of how people are judged, whatever judgment is.
It won't be
like. It's gonna be based on what did you know was right, like deep inside. See ile kichwa yenye unaulizwa swali, deep inside, you knew what you knew was right and wrong. I think that would probably be the basis of
how people will be judged. And it depends. Again, okay, that's true for the people who don't believe. Okay, me personally, I believe there are usually levels to hell or something. Because I don't think everyone will be put in the same. Because if you're not if you're not right according to God, then that means you're going to hell. Isn't that what the Bible says? It says Christ is coming for a spotless church. What does that really mean? Like this church has to be. hata kuna place Jesus anawaambia kama mtafikia ile level ya righteousness kama hao ma Pharisees wenye anakashifu again. You see, like these Pharisees, they held themselves so high in terms of morals and religion. Like they ikafika place wakaanza kuwa na pride wanaona singine because they can't get to our level of righteousness. They are lesser humans. And yet Christ again was saying, if you don't get to this level, you'll not get to heaven. Like, na Yesu mwenyewe tena ndo alikuwa anaambia, anakashifu wao sana, anambia you guys are hypocrites nini. So like level when walikuwa wamefika, the Pharisees was not even the perfect level. But
God says if you can't
even come close to that, hakuna like you need to exceed that. Hiyo yenye wamefika yenye wako, yes they are righteous but they are hypocritical, but they're still doing small things behind the scenes. If you don't get to that, you'll never get. I usually.
But I think that's a different thing.
I think it's morals again, based on God's standards.
But were they hypocritical because of what they're doing behind the scenes, or were they hypocritical because I think for the Pharisees they took the glory to themselves? You know, so it was. I felt like they would say this has happened because we are, and I think the moment that shifts, like your focus shifts, now you know it becomes pride.
Yeah, but kuna place pia like Bible nasema by no works of the flesh shall nobody will be justified because like zile works zenye umefanya because I've been more.
Yeah, because it's not about you.
What does that? So
that's what I was going to.
Even if nikikuwa mpoa, nikikuwa righteous, it doesn't guarantee me a ticket to heaven. Like I usually don't. I have a hard time understanding that.
What guarantees your ticket to heaven?
Also, faith, I guess.
What do you think guarantees your ticket to heaven?
That is a very, you know, we
okay,
had a conversation about heaven last time, and I kept thinking about it. But I feel like I think that should be one of the episodes. Because now, if you're talking about based on my belief as a Christian, I feel like I have to start to come back. I will come back to it. The reason I'm saying that is because what I have read in the Bible, I have read of a new heaven and a new earth. I have tried to look for a place that talks about like living here and going to heaven. I haven't seen it.
What do you mean?
You will show me. I'm just saying what I have
living
said.
Here?
Like living here and going to heaven.
So I have seen what you're trying to say.
I have read about a new Jerusalem coming down. I have read about a new heaven and a new earth. But like living earth and going to heaven. I have not read that. So I don't know what it means to go to heaven. Okay. That's why it's difficult for me to answer your question in terms of
it makes actually
so your question is how
will we live, will this be our new heaven, this earth?
Because what I feel like is the assumption that we've always had growing up as Christians, and that's why I'm saying this is like a whole discussion that we could have a full episode for, is we always knew we are on earth, we live, we die. At the end of time, some people will go to a place called heaven, some people will go to a place called hell. But I feel like it's not that simple. I don't think it's that simple. I think there is more layers to it that we are yet to understand. I do, and that's why I'm saying whenever I read whatever I have read about heaven, those are the two references I can make. I have read about a new Jerusalem coming down. I've also read about a new heaven and a new earth. So when I imagine what it looks like, I am not claiming to be an expert.
No, it's good. Yeah.
I'm just saying when I imagine what it looks like, I imagine a similar setup where there is a heaven and there is an earth. God in heaven as on earth, but with like a perfect communion as was there at the beginning of time. That's how I perceive it. So I don't perceive as
there is some truth to that. I think
there's a thing of ascending, but those are so many.
According to me, this is what I believe. I believe that when God talks about a new heaven and a new earth, And even when he talks about the meek shall inherit the earth, what earth is he talking about? Of course, it's not this earth, because he says again in his word that this earth and everything in it will be destroyed.
So why are we inheriting?
Yeah, or you cannot inherit something that's already destroyed. What I think of is maybe when this earth comes to its end, maybe to ascend to heaven for like for a couple of years, while
We'll
God.
be on gyro kwa njia.
But
No, we'll be in heaven maybe when we die, unajua sasa, and maybe judgment may come, and maybe hii dunia yenye iko sahi imekuwa maybe a big meteor imekuja ni crash, the world is over, so no, end of the world. Now God, now wale the saints anasema, okay, now I'll create a new earth for you because that one has been destroyed. Let me create again for you a fresh one. It's the same thing he has been doing since the beginning. The flood, trying to create a new, start again afresh, start again, reset. It's like he's always trying to reset. That's what I think. So those who are meek, those who are humble, and not meek to other human beings, I think meek to God. Now they get to be raised up, because the Bible says, if you humble yourself, you'll be. Now they get to be the lords, the presidents of this new.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective.
But there's something.
Because what does it mean when he says the meek shall inherit the earth? It's not this earth. It has to be.
Of course, I think it's inheriting the kingdom of God.
And what is the
What is
kingdom
the
of God?
kingdom also? Also, is it about?
The Bible says they
and I
inherit
think,
the earth, not the kingdom of
and
God.
there's a question about is it a place? Because we've always thought of a place.
Heaven.
Like,
I
yeah.
also imagine.
So do you imagine? So like
Yeah, it's a
again,
place.
these are just thinking.
Yeah, it's true.
Experience is thinking.
That's the purpose of this show.
People talk about, so say hell. Again, I don't know what this
Hell, what does it mean?
what this
Yeah.
It's a
look
place
like.
that has fire. It's misery.
Fire and sun.
I think
And
hell
sadness.
exists in two ways. Both as a psychological construct, like
An
you can
experience.
be an experience, and also as a physical place. The same with heaven. You can be in heaven in terms of your mental position, and also there's an actual physical heaven that exists
So wait, when you say you can be in heaven,
in your mind,
in your
like,
mind,
or in your experience, in your life experience.
Happy. This is
Happy,
like you're happy
satisfied, like you are in a good place in life. Like
so you associate happiness and maybe a comfortable, like where you feel
comfort
with heaven.
Yeah. Like there are some people who say maybe ako broke nini, but they are not languishing. Like they are just comfortable. They are in heaven.
It makes sense. The thing that I ask is because if you believe in God, if you believe in, I don't want to say God in this particular case. I want to say if you believe in God in terms of the generally accepted God, this is God. Then you believe that God is a spirit, and so what does that?
What does that mean?
It's not about. I don't want to ask about what does it mean to be in spirit, but I'm just trying to say that I think there's a lot and a research. There's a lot that we don't
know about,
that we don't understand, because where is God? When you read the Bible at the beginning, it talks about the earth being formless. I think we should have an episode, maybe say my ideas. We should have an episode talking about the creation, because I think there is a lot of stuff that is there that we really don't think about. We just read to Lisoma Siari, but I think there's a lot of things that if you think about, you realize there's a lot that is in there. Because so for example, the Spirit of God was hovering over what does that?
He was just
But then the earth was existent or non-existent. And then now you see that the thing that happens also is as you go
so that we understand, maybe to give us
the meek. Yeah. About the meek, which verse?
No, that
creation.
creation.
Because the other thing that I'm also thinking,
Because
before you get to it,
Yeah.
is as you grow in knowledge as well, as human beings, and I mean this from an individual level, but also generally as human beings, like as mankind, as we progress in terms of our knowledge, so we already understand the earth is a sphere, right? Is a ball that exists somewhere in space.
Yes.
Sindio. And so, and it is just a very small part of everything that exists, that we know exists. Sindio. So when the Bible in that place is talking about the earth was formless, that's what it says. You're going to read the earth was formless or something like that.
Genesis 1.
Do you think it's just the earth in terms of earth, the planet? Or do you think it's all of
everything.
creation was formless? Because ukisema was hovering over the waters, inamaanisha God alikuwa in the ocean.
Okay, this is what I mean. And I think your question is very valid because before you understand morals, which was the topic
Which is we digress.
you have to understand.
It's all right. Yeah.
You have to understand where it comes from. Where do morals come from? So, if we have determined that God is the author or the
morals.
originator of morals, then we have to understand who is this God? Why should we obey him? What is he, or like what are the substance that makes God? So why should we obey his morals according to his standards? So hapa inasema, now the earth was formless and void, and darkness, and God's spirit was hovering over the surface of the waters. I think this language is very figurative, first of all, and kitu moja I think we need to recognize is that most of the meaning is usually lost in translation. But me, what I understand when it says now the earth was formless, na anakuja anasema his spirit was hovering over the waters. What is the character of water? Water is formless. It does not have a form. So everything, and then ikisema the earth, like there was no time. Of course, there was no concept
Time
of
had
time.
not exist.
Time did not exist. So the earth being there means like the present and the past of it did not exist. So because it existed in God's mind, he already willed that the earth would be there. It's just that it was formless. It was already there because God had already thought of it.
So
but it was formless. It had not.
Okay, I think
it had not inherited its structure. And the waters, I guess, I think it's figurative of how everything existed at the time. Everything was formless and fluid, and nothing really made sense because that's how it is in the water. Like nothing is stable. But God was coming in to create stability and structure and everything. Because whenever the Bible says Christ is the Lion of Judah, it doesn't mean that Christ is actually a lion. It means he represents the image or the character of a lion, which is strong, authoritative, fierce, and even dangerous. Yeah, it is. It's very dangerous. And again, the Bible says the devil is like a roaring lion seeking someone to devour. You see, it doesn't mean the devil is like a roaring lion seeking someone to devour. The Bible says that somewhere in the New Testament. It doesn't mean the devil is actually a lion, but he's dangerous. He's looking for someone to kill.
Characteristics. He has those characteristics.
Yes. So, Christ anakuwa represented as a lion. The devil also as a lion. So it doesn't mean they're literally that. So, up me, I think that's what it means when he says, now the earth was formless and void and darkness. With that, what does that mean? The earth was formless. Like this is the language sisi binadamu tunaweza understand, because what existed at that time we cannot understand because it existed beyond our, like hatuwezi comprehend what it was.
Yeah.
So this familiar words like earth, water, we can kind of figure out what it looked like.
Yeah.
But we can never really have a clear picture of what it was.
To relate with our minds.
Yes, because our minds cannot we cannot conceptualize God.
Yeah.
So ikisema his spirit, we think of spirits as ghosts, like things you cannot see.
Yeah.
Like air, wind. The wind is, you don't see it, but you can see its effect. You know it's there. It's everywhere. Now that's God. He's a spirit. He's everywhere. You cannot see him. You cannot touch him, but he is as real as you and me. like he is there. He's actually there. So that's what I think it means.
So to maybe then, cause I feel like to here to see digression.
No, I think it's good. It explains why now, having understood who God is, he's beyond our comprehension. At ways he put in a box. Why now? Why should we? Why are we supposed to obey him? Like, what's the point? What's the point of morality? That's the kind of question I'm asking. Like, why do we need to be moral? Mbona tu tusifanye what we want
what
to
you
do?
want
And,
everybody
after all, kuna forgiveness of sins, so you can go ahead and just kill people.
Let's take advantage of God.
Do anything.
But I think when you have that argument,
Why does he have to give us grace? Why do we have to obey him? Like, what's the point of obeying him?
I think when you have that argument,
Is it just to be in good graces with him, or is it to pay hell, lama? What's the point?
no, I'm just thinking.
I think sorry.
Sorry.
Because this is what I wanted to also highlight. Most atheists, I think, from what I've seen, they think the idea of a hell and heaven is idiotic. You two will follow. So one or two, maybe it's an exit for human beings to think of a life after this life, because they can't imagine that this life can be that meaningless, and after you're dead, that's it. Because most of them believe after you die,
That's the end.
that's the end of the story, kaput.
So where do you go? So what happened?
So they just believe in Aisha evil, like nothing below you are before you were born, nothingness. Now we go back to nothingness.
Well, if no one created you, then you have no one
You have no one to answer to. So, and that's the point. Like, why should we, if God exists, what's the point of morals? Mbona situache tu tuishi vile tunaishi, and once we die, we just disappear in the wind. Why does he have to create a hell and a heaven so that we, like, why? Why is it?
And there's also the other argument that people that I think is becoming very common, even within the church, about hell. The concept of God being, from a Christian angle, where the Bible is speaking about God as being good, and as a result of that, people
how
are
can
like,
a good God create hell?
Yeah, how can He destroy people?
Yeah, people He created.
People He created.
Exactly.
And I personally think that it's.
Let us talk about our stand, what we actually believe. Can morality and God be separated? Can someone be moral without necessarily believing in God? For me, I believe it's impossible to have morality without God. Even if you've never read the Bible, even if you've never interacted with any religious organization, deep inside you, as long as you're a human being, you have inside your heart, the constitution of God is already written inside you. So yes, you might say, I don't believe in God, I am an atheist, I believe in Satan, but how you act, if you're obeying the rules of man, then you're obeying the rules of God, because the rules of man come from God. You see? Yes, they do.
Do you agree?
They at least they are mirrored from God.
His opinion. This is
the point.
His opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry to
You
have
see,
interrupted.
when Jesus comes and says, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar and to God what belongs to God, he's saying, obey those rules. Zabinadamu, pay your taxes. If the government says, do this, do that, come out like the apostles. They were not like, we are not going to, we are Christians, God is on our side. They was like, okay, tuingie. Then God goes above and beyond and awatoa kwa jela. Like, that is to show you that you're not supposed to rebel against the government because you have a superior moral basis, which is God. You're supposed to actually obeying the laws of man. It's actually obeying God's law, because it's God who puts the leaders in power. As evil as they might be, as wicked as they might be, ni Mungu ndo ameweka hapo. As wicked as they might be, and this goes all the way in the Bible. All the evil leaders or people in power, they're actually put there by God.
God allowed it.
God allowed it to happen, even if they were doing wicked things. God allowed it to happen to test His people, to make His prophecies come to pass. So for me, I believe. You might say, I don't believe in religion, I don't believe in God. But if you're obeying any law that is set by the government or even by your parents, if you're obeying them, already obeying God's law. Because kuna place fulani inasema, there was this, I think it was a kind of like a parable. There were two sons, and their father told them, hey, enda ukate hizo, maybe ufieke nyasi. Ufieke nyasi. Mwingine anasema, yes, father, I'll do it. Na kufanya. Mwingine anasema, I will not do it. You're not my father. But at the end of it, akaenda akasema, hey, yeah, let me just go on. Between these two people, who is obedient? The second one who actually did it, even though waliongea akasema. So for me, I look at atheists like the second child, son, who openly alisema, mimi sifanyi, but
back kwa nyuma.
Their actions really speak too different. And most Christians actually are like the first son who, hey, wanaenda church, wanaomba nini, but behind the scenes they do totally opposite. No, they are corrupt, they're nini. So, me, I'd rather be the second son, as much as maybe I don't have any outward show of, hey God, hey, I'm respecting you, I'm obeying you, but your actions, let my actions speak. What actions I'm saying? I think that's most people up on the arco. So morality for me cannot be separated from God or faith. I don't know what faith means, but I assume faith means faith in God and the God of the Bible. The God, the one God, not because there are many gods. Again, you need to so many gods. So yeah, if you have faith in God, whether you show it or you don't show it, as long as you're being moral, you're a believer. Don't spend it. That's my stand.
Okay. So, faith and morals, you can't separate them. And my reason is we are all created in God's image. Yes. So I think this is why you were saying, even when you're young, you know something is wrong, yet you don't even know how you learned about it being wrong. Yeah? Because you are God's image, and God is morally upright. Yes. So you need those things that are working. It's more of a supernatural thing working behind, the scene. Yeah. So it's like that sixth sense. You know how you.
Or it's just basically how you are programmed to be as human beings.
Yes. And because of being created in God's image, so He's basically working behind you at the back of your mind, whether you like it or not, whether you acknowledge it or not, He's still there. Yes. So it's a case of you suppressing it or expressing it.
Rebelling against it.
Yes. So that's a personal choice. So being morally upright is very much intertwined with faith. And in this case, I'm talking about faith being a very personal understanding and conviction of God. Not just faith in anything. Yes. Because if you have a personal relationship with God, then you understand if God says this is wrong. Yeah. You know how Dan referred to Joseph and the Potiphar's wife. He had a choice of saying, I don't want to do it because I don't want to. Yeah. But I'm sure his flesh was wanting whatever he was seeing. But he knew.
Maybe not.
Maybe.
You never know. Maybe it was like.
Actually, let me say, I think. or maybe he didn't even have the desires. Yeah, maybe he didn't.
I think
because
me, I believe as a man he did have the desires.
Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't.
He was so tuned with God. In fact,
Yes.
of kile level yenye Mungu anakupatia ndoto like anakuallow ku understand what the dream means. You're so in tune with God, you do not want to do anything that. So like even your own desires.
Yes. Your own desire are his desires, because he says he doesn't want to sin against God. Yeah. So it's something bigger than him. Yeah. So yes. So for me, faith,
and God
morals. No, faith and morals are inseparable.
And faith, this means faith in God.
And faith, I'm talking about it being very personal, not just saying
faith in what?
Faith in God.
What
yes. God? The one God I believe in. Yes, the Christian God.
You have to know.
The Christian God. The Christian God. So for me, it's a case of
the God of the Bible.
The God of the Bible. So the conviction of the Holy Spirit.
So does that mean? Okay, I was really trying not to interrupt you, but does that mean that
faith in other
anyone
gods
who is not a Christian is not capable of being moral?
For me, I believe.
Yes.
That's true.
Yes. You may be a Christian because
unaweza kuwa Muislamu and you say watu wengi wanasemanga Waislamu they believe in the same God, but I don't think so. They don't believe in the same God.
No, whether you believe in the same God or not, that's not the question. The question is, that means it's only a person who is a Christian who is capable of being moral.
Not that. A person who has faith in God.
In God.
The God of the Bible. Not a Christian. You can be a Christian.
You can be a Christian,
but you believe, like I said, you can say it in your mouth. Hey, I'm a Christian.
No, that's not the point. That's not because we are not talking about Christians specifically. So I'm saying,
the God of
I was
faith.
Born in Saudi Arabia. I have never been taught anything about Jesus. I have grown up as a Muslim, and I'm following everything that I have been taught. And going back to the thing we were saying in terms of conviction, every conviction I have, I am following it. Am I not morally upright just because I do not subscribe to the God in the Bible?
You might be morally upright.
Okay, because
you see, the thing is, this is what I'm trying to tell you people. For me, there's no, it's not a gray area for me.
Yeah.
It's
a black and white.
It's a black and white. If God says this is what is morally upright, it is that. You can't come and tell me, but apana, no. It's just, I was going to answer you. The question I asked about how do you think you go to heaven, or rather, what's your ticket to heaven? I think there's a place in the Bible it talks about salvation and you acknowledging Christ. That's how you, because they say you can't get to the Father unless through me, right? That's what the Bible calls.
That's what it says. But that does that talk about going to heaven?
Where is God?
God is in heaven. So
God is everywhere.
The idea of going to God.
Okay, but going to God.
Going to God means going to where He dwells.
Yeah.
He's everywhere, but where does He dwell?
Yeah.
In the hearts of His people. That's what the Bible says.
So you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. That conversation about heaven.
Listen. So
let me wrap it up and then I let you discuss. So yes, for me it's not
either or.
It's not like this.
Yeah.
Either you're.
No, it's
it's
not as
either or.
so. It's not. Yes.
Akuna.
Morally, if you have a personal relationship with God, I believe your morals are. You might not be. Of course you may not get everything right, but you have something that governs you that's beyond your understanding. So it's able to tell you, yes, this might look right to someone, and you know for sure, God does not approve of this. It's as basic as giving a cop when a cop smashes you. If you're a true Christian, and you're very intertwined with Christ, yeah, you will not give that one. You will just accept your mistake. If this guy decides to take you to the station, you will go. But me being a Christian who's just on the line up with walkie dog, I'll be like, hey, boss, shika imiambili. And then but for sure, it's not being morally upright. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you're very intertwined with Christ, I don't think you struggle a lot. You might struggle, but you eventually know what you need to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think faith and morality can be separated in declaration and expression, but they cannot be separated in reality in terms of the source. Where does it come from? So what I mean is, I can be morally upright. Specifically on that discussion that we were just having now, I think anybody can be morally upright, can have a set of values that they say, this is what I believe in and I'm going to stick to it. I just think that the source of that is always going to be God. The reason I say they can be separated in declaration and expression is because you may not acknowledge it on the outside, and even in terms of what you believe, you'll be like, me, it's not, I'm not doing that because of God. There are people who are like that. They're like, me, I just live this way because it's the right way to live. So that is what I mean by declaration and expression. But the source of anything that we would consider to be moral or upright or good, not evil, is God, because that is the nature of God.
But to me, enter into other topics,
which is cool.
Which is the point of this podcast is about sparking conversations. We're not telling you anything.
Yeah.
Hatukwambia, hey, okoka sahi. No, it's your decision. It's a decision to believe whatever you want to believe. It's your choice. Because God amepatia say your free will. So who are we to come and tell you should believe this? No. If you believe whatever you want to believe, you believe it. But we are just trying to spark a conversation.
Absolutely.
And see where this goes. So that's it for us. We are so grateful that you've watched. Thank you so much. Thank you for the support. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. I appreciate it. So next time, what will be the topic we'll be talking about next time?
Predestination and free will.
In free will.
Yes, that's it.
It's going to be an interesting.
It's going to be
Very
an interesting
interesting.
conversation.
Very interesting. So be sure to tune in.
Yeah.
Okay, come through again next week with another podcast. From us, Maze, it's goodbye.
Adios.
Peace.
Harry.
See you on the next one.